Welcome to the CEO's Laundry, the first coaching podcast designed for leading CEOs. You see, CEOs face personal and professional issues just like you and me. But with a high-level position comes high-level questioning and duties. As a result, they can feel alone, misunderstood, confused, or overwhelmed. But these high-level responsibilities can also be a source of inspiration for them to look for ways to simplify their lives and optimize their results for the long run. That's why, instead of focusing on their achievements and success stories, each episode is a discussion focused on their current challenges and what lies ahead. I help them clear their minds. This way, they make room for fresh insight to refocus on themselves, give their daily lives a new boost, and strengthen their impact on the world. Be at the forefront of a podcast that reveals the reality of a human being behind the title of CEO. Hi everyone, and welcome to this new episode. Today I'm with AJ, the CEO of Wonder. You got to see some background of what I do. For almost the first half, I let AJ talks. She talks and talks and talks and talks. And that gives me a lot of insight about herself and how she show up to the world. So we have a discussion oriented toward the fact that she talks a lot and that she's a highly intellectual person and that she can get caught up into her own mind, into her own thinking. And then we address some of the challenges that she has right now around leadership and vision. And we also got to talk about spirituality and God. It's really interesting to see how her faith in God can help her grow into the next step of her business. So it's fun to talk about that to brilliant mind, intellectual people. So I'll let you get through this 1 hour of recording. I wish you a good episode. Hi, everyone, and welcome to this new episode of the CEO's Laundry, your favorite podcast, I'm sure. Today I'm with AJ. AJ, thank you very much for showing up. You are the CEO of an amazing app, not just an app, we can use it on the browser too. That I like what you do with your business. So I don't want to say more. I want you to use the words that you want to introduce yourself and your business. And then we will jump straight away into the challenges that are live for you now, and we will move forward.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Kevin. Thank you for having me. So I'm a 24-year-old mom from Utah County, Utah, in the U.S. And I have a somewhat abnormal upbringing. I had parents that thought their 3 girls could do anything boys can do, and that they could do anything at a young age that adults could do. Kind of odd, but my parents just encouraged us to go build and follow our interests and pursue opportunities as deep as we possibly could in and out of school, which led to some really great learning opportunities at a really young age, and some really great opportunities. I have to apologize to everyone listening. I lost my voice on Saturday at a football game. BYU just beat USC. Big game. Anyway, that's why my voice sounds a little funny. Yes. But yeah, so I grew up and was exposed to a lot of things. And so I was lucky enough to know at a young age that I wanted to be an engineer of some sort. I thought I wanted to be a mechanical engineer, or an electrical engineer for a time. I thought that was what I wanted to do. But then I discovered software, and software is like the ultimate creative pursuit because you don't have to deal with materials, right? You can just go as fast as you want. You can build as fast as you want. You make a mistake, you just hit delete, right? You don't have to go back to the store and buy another, piece of wood or whatever. And with my impatient attitude, that just really, it was like a glove, fit like a glove. So
a perfect match.
yes, it is. And I knew that I knew that I was probably going to be a mom and didn't have a ton of time to go do a 4-year degree work before that was going to be the case. So when I became a mom, I wanted to already have my career established, and I didn't want to wait a long time for that. So, so I may have to stop and go get a drink of water. Is that okay? Can we pause? You can cut this. Is that okay, Kevin?
Yeah,
I'll be right back.
doable.
Let me
Yeah.
go get a drink. Okay, I'm back. Sorry, that adds more work for you.
Yeah, it's okay.
But yeah, so software was, I knew software was going to be what I was going to do. And I can go into why I think everyone should at least explore software. I think it's one of the best careers out there right now. One of the lowest barriers to entry, college and education wise. It's just fantastic. But my first project, software project that went anywhere, was an app for a place called Lake Powell. It's a national recreation area in the U.S. It's in southern Utah, northern Arizona. If I don't know if you guys know about the Grand Canyon, it's similar to the Grand Canyon, but it's filled with water. So it's this big lake. Over 3 million people visit a year. It's huge. There's not a lot of cell service, and everyone uses this paper map when they visit. They try to use a combination of this map and Google Maps, because you have all of the content that you want on this map, and this map is built for Lake Powell. It has everything you want on it, nothing that you don't. It's great, but it doesn't have GPS, right? It's a paper map. So I had this idea, and this was when I was about 12 years old. Had this idea, let's build an app for Lake Powell that has all that content on it that you want and more. It has pictures and you can search it, show and hide stuff, update new things without reprinting, all that stuff, but also has GPS and works offline without any internet. So international travelers can use it. If you don't have cell service, you can use it. That was the idea. So of course I go to my dad and I say, "Hey Dad, I want to do this." My parents, right? I want to do this. I want to do this project, and they said, "Okay, here, we'll help you." We've never built an app before, but my dad is in the software industry, so he had some connections, pointed me to people that knew about building apps and things, and 2 years later, after I'd found a technical partner to help me, we had the Lake Powell app on the App Store, and it was a big hit. It was a paid app between $5 and $10 while it was on the App Store, and we had over 10,000 paid downloads. Pretty fun. I just took some flyers down and put them in the gas stations and things, and yeah, it was a big success for my little 14-year-old self, and yeah, it was really fun. So fast forward about 10 years. Since then, I served a mission for my church in Japan. I learned Japanese. I came home and I became an engineer, became a full-time software engineer, worked for startups, and ended up actually doing some consulting as well as a software engineer. I really enjoyed architecture and data, state management, and I have a few specialties in that as an engineer that I was able to consult with, and do some work for. But this problem still was in the back of my mind that, okay, in order to build the Lake Powell app, in order to build a solution for one destination that I cared about a lot, I had to build a custom app. And that is, I'll tell you right now, that is a feat in and of itself, to build an app for one location. And I had, a technical co-founder, technical partner. I had basically everything I needed to build an app for one place. But for a lot of these places, that isn't an option, right? And so I looked around and I found out, there are 4 million destinations across the world that are still printing paper maps. Like, can you believe it? That is their primary resource that they give to their visitors that visit for navigation. Intra-location navigation, right? Because Google Maps gets you to these places, but once you're there, you need something built specifically for that place. So that's updated and managed by that place, that destination. Um, so I had this idea. I said, okay, why can't we build a SaaS platform that lets anyone do what I did for Lake Powell for their destination, for their attraction, their ski resort, their amusement park, state park, national park, even, tourist sites and tourist destinations, islands, all of these different things, even, airports hand out paper maps still. And then I looked around and I saw how much people were spending on these custom apps. There are tens, hundreds of thousands of these apps that are being built, right, for destinations. And in 2021, people aren't downloading custom apps for a single destination anymore, And if they are, they delete it after they go home. So these destinations that are spending thousands and thousands and thousands, they lose that engagement, right? And so Wander, I built the Lake Powell app again in Wander in 5 minutes, just to give you an idea. So that's the power of this platform. And then once these maps are built, instead of just being an iPhone app or an Android app, we have our 2 Wander apps where all of these maps live, right? So I can download one app and have all of these maps for places all across the world. And these destinations can stay in contact with their visitors, right? After they come, use their map, they can retarget them. They can, users can organically just stumble upon them on Wander. And then these maps can also be embedded on their website. They can be used on a mobile phone browser as well without downloading an app. So really powerful mapping platform that is unlike anything that's ever been built before. So that's what Wander does. We have destinations all across the world that are contracted with us, a lot of which have signed in the last month. And we have a lot more. So we're a cash positive startup. We're covering our burn. We're growing. We're about to close our seed round of funding. We're going to have 15 employees in January, and we're just loving this. So I have 2 co-founders that I've known for a really long time. Amazing people, and I'll be honest, we've had just about everything go right up until this point in the first year. We've had a lot of little setbacks, but in the aggregate, we will be one of those companies that you look back and, this is an anomaly at how well this has gone so far. So we're really grateful for that. And we're ready for the challenges that'll come, but we've been very fortunate. So that's a little bit about me. I have a 2-year-old daughter and a husband. My family is everything to me. I do not, starting a company, there are sacrifices, and of course my family is affected, but my family, I've been lucky enough to have the flexibility and situation where my family can come totally first. And I have a very strong relationship with my husband and my daughter, and I plan to continue that. So, and I encourage my team to be the same. And I work more hours than anyone on my team, but maybe not Mark, my back-end engineer. But anyway, that's a little bit about me and what we do. We're growing quickly, and things are not slowing down in the least bit. They're only speeding up. And my role as a CEO, it started out as, chief engineer, chief UX designer, right? When I was building the prototype before raising money. And right now I'm still the PM, right? The product manager. I personally think that a founder at a startup needs to be an expert product manager at a SaaS startup. That's one piece of advice that I give all aspiring entrepreneurs is go become a product manager, an engineer, UX designer, and work for a software company and see how a high performing product team operates, because that's the most important thing at a SaaS company is product market fit and those things. But so that's the role I've been playing. I do a lot of fundraising. My job is to make sure we don't run out of money, and to make sure we have the right team. So that's my primary job, is recruiting and fundraising, and making sure my team is focused on solving the right problems and pursuing the right opportunities. But I am largely, and closing big deals. That's another thing I do, but closing the bigger ones. But I have a team that operates fairly autonomously in a lot of areas, and it's been a while to get to that point, but it's a very great place to be, to see that someone can do something better than me, something that I've been doing out of necessity, and finding people that can do those things better than me has been just amazing. So do you have any questions for me, Kevin, before I jump into
Yeah,
challenges? Because I
I've,
have them,
I've,
lots of them.
I can understand that. Yes. Um, how much revenue do you generate right now for the business? I mean, not you personally, but the business.
Um, we'll do around 30,000 this month, and our burn's less than 30. We'll be upping that burn significantly in January, ramping up in December, and then in January it'll
Okay.
more than double in January.
Okay.
And so we also have a lot of really big deals that are supposed to close in January.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but
So how much for
um,
the year 2021? How much
on the
is it?
year so far, we've done around 60. And then we we have a lot in our pipeline that could close in December, but we'll see.
Okay.
Um, right now, we're focusing a lot on sales, but also on delivering value and making sure our product, because we're just starting to deliver on those first deals that we
Mm-hmm.
closed, right? And so making sure our product is providing the ROI for these destinations that they expect, and more than they expect. Um, and our referral rate is really great as well. We have a lot of referrals. We only have one sales rep. It's Nate, my co-founder, that's just cranking. So um, yeah, so we've done, and yeah, things are looking really, really good.
Okay. Thanks. Now that you gave us a lot of context about the past, and we can understand that, what would you like to focus on for today in terms of challenges? Do you have like one big main challenge, or do you have a bunch of them and you want to put a few on the table, and then we can see which one we can go for?
Yeah, it's a good question. And I have to say, I really like the format of this podcast and what you're trying to do, because I have looked for things like this, right? Like, are there CEOs out there willing to be vulnerable enough to share some of the things I'm sure a lot of us struggle with, and um, and have answers given in that context, right, by somebody like yourself that can do that. So I really love this. Um, Challenges. So I I mean I know that so many CEOs share this personality trait with me. I am extremely ADHD, and I have been my whole life, right? Um, and so with that, very creative, I iterate quickly in my head. I can go down into a rabbit hole. I can make a decision in my head without making the actual decision, go into a rabbit hole and kind of fail in my head before it happens, right? Like, oh, if we take this path, and that happens all the time, right? Like, I'm just constantly. Um, but something I'm not a very good manager. I feel that I'm a fairly decent leader. I'm aware of my ability to influence people and how I influence people. But being a manager, I have to play that role right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
In a lot of ways. And so being a good manager, staying organized with, and making sure everyone understands the company vision, um, and making sure, I think one thing I struggle with as a leader and manager is, um, something I'm working on, is giving my team clear expectations I feel like I sometimes give them too much creative license, and not that they can't perform under that, right? I have very competent team members, but I feel like they need to know that they're succeeding, right? And they need to know that they're hitting my expectations. And so that's just a management thing um, that I am working on right now. Um, let's see what else. So yeah, we are a fully remote team, and so keeping morale high is something
Mm.
that's really important to me. And another thing I think that would help us a lot is something I'm struggling with is how do I how do I effectively communicate the status of our company, and like these big wins. Like we just signed a really big client last week, like the biggest one yet we just signed, and it's a huge win. They are so excited, and it's gonna bring a lot of really good things to every aspect of our company. So
Right,
yeah, a
AG,
lot
I
of
stop you here.
yeah.
Yeah, I stop
I
you
think
here.
I gave you enough to dig into. Do you
Hmm.
think? Okay, let's do
Yes,
it.
I think so.
And I would
I
like to do as much deep coaching as you would like to get into. And I am one, I'll tell you, this is relevant, so I'll tell you this. I I have my favorite book is Mindset by Carol S. Dweck. And the idea is everything about you can be changed and developed and improved, right? But in order for that to happen, you have to be more focused on improving than proving, right? So if I come in on this podcast and my aim is to just prove that I'm a competent CEO, I'm going to miss out on opportunities to learn and grow, right? And so I'm the same with investor pitches, and I'll be honest, it has, I think in the short term, led us to lose opportunities, right? Because at the end of the pitch, I'll be like, "Hey, where's the vulnerability? I don't know what I'm doing here," right? But it's only led to positive things in the long run so far. So I am um, very open to whatever you can tell me today, Kevin.
Perfect. Thank you. So I just want to make an apartheid for the
Yeah.
audience, highlighting something that is happening behind the scene for me.
Mm-hmm.
So, AG, you're a perfect client. Why? Because you just spent something like more than 20 minutes, 25 minutes talking. And I can only work if you talk. So my material is your words. I don't have any other materials than your words. So you just threw at me a lot of directions that we could take, not just right now, but for weeks, with
Mm-hmm.
everything that you said. You highlighting it's like a mind map,
Yeah.
with everything that you say. And as a coach, it's gold. But what it tells me is that you're fast in moving in your mind, but that means that you spend a lot of time in your head, and that is a gift, but it has also its downside. And indeed, it's related to leadership and management, because one of the core key of management and leadership is listening. The first thing that you told me for the challenges is around leadership and management. You say that you're a good leader, but not a good manager. What is the difference for you between a leader and a manager? How do you differentiate those two status?
It's a great question. A leader, I think, is um, more. I think a leader. How do I articulate this? I'm reading a book on this right now. I just started it yesterday, actually. So I'm not an expert on, but they do make that distinction. So I'm trying to remember what it is, and I agree with their distinction they made. Um,
Yeah,
but
but your distinction,
yeah,
just,
my
I don't
distinction.
care about the book.
Yes.
What do you think?
Okay. Okay. My distinction. that's a great point. My distinction, I think a leader is more of a vision and motivation, morale, more in charge of overall the direction, morale, um, highlighting the opportunities and the problems that need solving at a high level. And as it relates to me, and then a manager is more on the implementation side and the execution side. How do we and how do we make sure people have what they need, are performing at a high level, are happy doing it, and are setting and hitting goals is kind of how um, I see managers as more of an organizational um,
Mm.
piece, and the word organization, of course, is kind of a trigger word for me because I'm not organized. If you look at my phone, my inbox, it is something I constantly work on. Um, and so yeah, that's my distinction.
Yeah, I'm not surprised because you have a brilliant mind, and brilliant mind are good dreamers, um, good visionaries, good motivators. But when it comes back into like the practicality of
Mm-hmm.
like doing things, it seems suddenly like there is a lot of pressure. It's heavy, it can be annoying, can be boring. So I got that.
So just out of nature of what we're doing, I've had to manage. Um, and and yeah, I'm not a great team manager.
Hmm.
And so but I mean, that is shifting away to your point. We're getting to a point where we can hire people to replace me in those
Hmm.
management roles.
Yeah.
I do need to be
Yep.
good at managing meetings and time and um, making sure meetings are productive, partnerships, things like that. But it's a good question.
I feel you, AG, because there's a lot of personality traits that resonate with who I am. Um, I've been um, I've been a team leader. I had a team to manage before in my corporate career. I was working as a human resources manager,
Oh,
so
wow.
I
Yeah.
I, I I know people, how to deal with people. I worked as the HR of the headquarter of a multi-billion-dollar corporation.
Wow.
I work in aerospatial, a lot of different high-pressure environments
Hmm.
where you have to manage people. So I understand that. I understand that when you grow a company, within the first, I would say 2, 3, 4 to 5 years, you're constantly like changing hats and
Hmm.
adapting to the responsibilities that are like you don't know who is throwing that at you. That can be
Yeah.
called the universe, the business itself. It doesn't really matter the belief here, but you have to deal with bunch of things that are constantly thrown at you. What I do with CEOs first is working on the vision. And I believe from what you tell me that this is even more important for you to be clear on the vision and to make sure that the team understand the vision.
Hmm.
I believe that it's key here. That's key here for the company, the business, but for you as a leader too.
Yeah.
Because the more the team understand the vision, the more you can lead them and not manage them. Because if they know where they have to go, they basically don't need you. And that's one of the first work that I do with CEOs working on the vision is mapping out the vision, not with a vision statements, but a more or less like 5-page document that really transcribe the vision. And basically, it's so clear that everyone understands it the same way. What you want is that each member of your team close their eyes and visualize the same end goal, the same target.
Hmm.
And it's very hard to know if if they can do that.
Yeah. And I think I'll be vulnerable for a second. Our
Yeah.
vision changes a little bit,
Yes.
right?
Okay.
With opportunities, and it's changed since, like, we've been doing this for a year now. It has changed a lot since then, right? As we understand the world better and how we fit into it. And so, and there are some key pieces to our vision that I don't have figured out yet. I like big things, right? I don't have them figured out yet. And I always get into the trap, and this will help you understand me. I always get into the trap of, okay, of thinking of all the dependencies of something before I finish the last
Hmm.
thought. Does that make sense? Like
Hmm.
the first thought I thought of,
Yes.
because oh, I want this vision. Oh, wait. We need to figure out our product roadmap to this point before I can answer that question. But in reality, I think I can answer that question. Like I need to think bigger and less granular, right?
Yes.
And so, for example, um, we I really in general setting, in general words, I really believe Wander can own travel. It can be anytime anyone asks the question, where should I go today? Where should we go this weekend? Where's our next weekend trip? Where's our next big international trip? What hike should we do this week? Where should we do our get together for our daughter's birthday? Whatever. Anytime anybody asks those questions, I want them to go to Wander. That's my big vision in a couple of sentences, right? But I think, okay, I always get into the trap of, okay, what features do we need? That's a big no, when talking about vision, right?
Hmm.
Like that's not my job to go think specifically of features, right? But I
Yes.
always go there. So
Yes.
that's one of my issues and tendencies that I think hurt us.
Yes. And it's related to what I told you. You're trapped into your own mind. You
Mm-hmm.
you you're highly intellectual, and that has its downside, and that's what you experience right now. It's not an assumption what I'm going to say, but you believe in God.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And you also, I feel that you're trapped into that paradox of having faith in God and having these high intellectual capacities. And you're, I like the expression lost in translation. You're, I feel that you're lost in between this, because if you know the power of God, you know
Mm-hmm.
that it's a, I like to call that a co-creation, a process.
Yes.
It's not, it's not just you.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes,
your
you're right.
faith in God itself is an answer to most of your problems, an answer to most of your challenges, an answer to
Mm-hmm.
most of your
Right.
issues.
Yes.
And God can be responsible for more of the opportunities, questioning that you have at this moment. But if you alone try to figure it out,
Yeah.
then God will understand that, okay, let's, she's doing her stuff. She wants to do her stuff by herself. She wants to figure it out. That's um, that's the vibration that she's sending me.
Mm-hmm.
That's what she's telling me. So I will head her on her pathway. And I believe that your faith in God is a great way to leverage the situation you are right now, which means that letting go. That
Yeah.
one of your challenge right now is to let go.
Wow. You have a gift for reading people, Kevin. You really do. Very, very strong gift. even over Zoom. It's impressive, very impressive. Because you're right. And I'm lucky enough, my particular faith tradition that I hold to is incredibly intellectual, and um, and I don't feel that they conflict in that regard. But you're definitely right in the sense that I think I often forget that even in my everyday work life, I'm engaged in God's work, right? I'm doing something of value to a lot of people and employing people and interacting with a lot of people. So you're very right. And so um, I think I think I need to use that more often um, and remember that. So it's a great reminder. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. And yeah, the word conflict is not, the way I see it is not like, two opposite things that cannot meet each other. They can completely meet each other in my perspective.
Yeah.
It's more of a balance.
Mm.
I see that more of a balance. And when you just rely on faith itself, then you end up doing nothing. Like if
Right.
you're at the extreme side of the spectrum,
Oh, I see what you mean.
and
I totally see
and
what
when
you
you're
mean there.
just in the intellectual
Yeah.
process, you end up like doing a lot, but then you believe that you're 100 responsible for
Hmm.
everything, and if you stop, then it's chaos. It crashes.
Hmm. Yeah, no, I think you're right. And you said the word co-creation, which makes me want to ask you what your faith tradition is, because that's very fascinating and something I agree with completely. So we should have another conversation about religion. I have tons of questions I want to ask you, but
Mhm.
um, but yes, I totally agree with that. It is that balance of um, because it's not just I feel that God doesn't just care about me, but he cares about the work I'm doing because of the impact it's going to have, right, on his other children. Like I'm a small piece of this, right? But I am a
Mhm.
piece of it. And so if he just wanted the end result, like he would snap his fingers and have it there, right? But I am
Mhm.
supposed to learn something from this as well. Everybody involved is supposed to learn something and co-create something and experience that growth from co-creation. So I totally agree with you. And um, I believe strongly um, in God's communication with man, not in the sense that I receive revelation for everyone in the world, but for me and what I'm doing in my family. I do believe that there are influences and there's communication in different forms that happens um, in that sense. And so tuning into that and making sure you're receptive of that, and through meditation, prayer, whatever, right, um, is something that I rely heavily on, and something that I feel I sense that you rely heavily on as well. So very cool. But I'd love to hear the other. I know you were about to say something else. I'd love to hear it.
I'm listening. I'm listening to you. Do you have something else more to say?
No, I think that's it for that thought.
Hmm. Okay. Yeah, we can have another conversation on this, just to give a piece of something for the audience. I grew up atheist, so didn't believe in
Wow.
God at all, and completely rejected even 1% of the ID. Like at 7 years old, I stopped. I don't know in English. It's like the name. In French, it's
Catholic?
catechism.
Catholic?
Yeah, it's
Cate-
like when you go every week to learn about God.
Mass?
Yeah,
Mass?
yeah, that's
Sunday
it. Yeah,
school? Yeah.
yeah. So I stopped that at 7 years old because for me
Yeah.
it was complete bullshit, and
Yeah.
so I completely rejected that. But I came across stuff lately. I don't believe in God as a person, like as physical concept, but I believe in higher power, not just out of my mind, but because I experienced stuff,
Yeah.
and I used I use what I call the law of the universe to work right now, and I rely on that to achieve greater success and fulfillment. um and and I learned to, that's why I resonate with you, because I'm highly intellectual too.
Mm-hmm.
um and so I learned to step down on that, to use my intellect just as a tool, but not as a definition of my identity, and to tap on other forces. You were talking about meditation, absolutely. I love meditation. So yeah, I use that, and I feel that there is a massive growth area for you in here. I would love to have another conversation on that.
Mm-hmm.
You say that, I think the first thing that we should focus on is your vision.
Yeah,
You
I
have
would
a
agree.
vision. You have a vision. You said it. You used your words, but you say you want to be the number one travel hub. That's clear, and I mean that's clear. It's as clear as Elon Musk want to go to Mars.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I understand what you mean by that, but then we can go down into different categories to understand, okay, how the business is going to be shaped in a few years based on that. And as you said, it evolves, which means that it's not static, it's not fixed. It's not a picture that you can do in one day and then it doesn't change for the next 3, 5, or 10 years. That's not possible. It has to evolve, and it's a good sign if the vision evolves. But if it evolves, like if 10, 15%, 20% change, that's okay. If 70, 80, 90% change, it means that the vision at the beginning was not clear enough. But change in a vision every 6 months, every year, it's completely normal. It's part, I mean, life itself is based on change. Everything change. So vision that change is completely understandable. What's your takeaway from this
From
conversation? We
today.
haven't been too deep. We have started to highlight some ways and possibilities for you, but what do you keep in mind?
Well, I think um the number one takeaway, this is just one phrase you told me, is you said, if your team understands your vision, and not just the one sentence, but understands, that full vision that you document, you can lead instead of manage. Like that's a big shift in my mind. And I mean, I have parts of it, but just the way you articulated that was a game changer for me this morning. Um, I really get excited when someone sees the spiritual aspect of work similarly to how I do. So I really appreciated that reminder. Um, and yeah, a lot with the vision. The vision, I I am coming away from this really excited to work on that. And
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I have now the picture of what it could do for my business, right? And my company, my team, that I need to kind of justify spending more time on it. Because I have
Mm-hmm.
so many death by a thousand paper cuts, right? As a founder. It's like this. Even if you do delegate things, it's and then networking and hiring is something I'm doing a ton of right now, those types of things. But so I oftentimes do need, it takes effort to put aside time to focus on some of those things. So I think that's been really helpful this morning. But yeah, lead instead of manage. Figure out what you need to figure out so you can lead instead of manage is my main takeaway.
Okay, great. Love it. Um, do you want more explanation on that, on how the vision can help you to lead?
If you have any thoughts come to mind, I'd love to hear them.
Yeah. I can give a piece of explanation right now for the next couple of minutes. But it's like when the vision is clear, people know where they are going.
Mm-hmm.
So some might not resonate with, not be in alignment with the vision, and then they will just go somewhere else. But the people who are aligned with the vision, who are like driven, moved by the vision, they will understand clearly where you want to go. Because, for example, if I tell you, I want to build my dream home in the middle of the nature, you can have an employee that can understand that, oh, Kevin is living in Bali, so maybe his dream home will be like a big, massive villa in Bali. Someone can understand that it will be like, oh, like a cabin in the forest. Someone can understand that it's like, oh, this kind of like new, modern eco home in the middle of like on a lake or something, completely sustainable. Someone else can understand like, oh, he's in France, maybe he was living in Paris, maybe his dream home is not far from Paris, like a big apartment, maybe in Paris or something like that. So I say that my dream home is in the middle of the nature, but some people will tend to forget about nature. Some people will tend to forget about home. They will just imagine what they want based on what I give them.
Mm-hmm.
But if I tell them within the next 4 years, I will own a 2-story villa with 3 to 4 bedrooms in Lombok, which is an island next to Bali, Indonesia, with a massive 180-degree sea view on a hill, then they will all visualize the same thing. And they will all understand what I envision, and they will envision the same thing. So there is no more confusion anymore. But you as the CEO, you cannot know what is going on in someone else's mind. So you cannot know if they think about the things that you think about.
Yeah.
So that's the goal on vision, is to being so clear. And it's okay if some stuff change later on, but to being so clear that they all understand the same thing. So suddenly there is an inner alignment with everyone, and they all understand where they have to go. And from here you can lead, and you can not manage them, but coach them, which is a funnier status to be the coach of your team, because you can empower them, you can give them the power through coaching, and you don't have to be behind them as a manager to make sure that they're doing good work. So that's a sum up of
I love it.
the vision work.
That's a really powerful example because I think everyone listening, and myself included, has communicated something that has been totally misunderstood. And you don't need to add that many words to make it, consistent across everybody's mind, right? You just added a few things. It wasn't like you needed to draw the house or take a picture of the house and send it to them. Like you just added those few things. So I think it's a really, really cool example.
Okay.
It's very neat.
Thank you very much for being here today.
Yeah. Thank you for having me, Kevin.
I love your mindset.
Likewise, I think I would like to continue working with you and talking with you. So off the podcast, we'll talk about that. But
Yeah.
thank you so much for having me, and I look forward to listening to your podcast. I'll be a loyal listener.